But
Well, welcome, Jimmy. I'm so glad you said yes to
thank
be.
you for having me. Yeah, you can edit that first part out if we're
Yeah,
recording.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, I could trim that.
Probably have to edit out a lot talking to me. So, like,
I,
this is a family show. I don't have a family, so.
well, I'll start by saying I read your book last night.
Oh, and you still want to do the interview? Oh, hold on.
Yes, well, it developed, the title belies what the end result is when you walk away from it. So,
That's kind of the point. Yeah, I mean,
um,
the title. I mean, the book can get pretty funny and vulgar. That's me. I'm not going to change who I am when I write,
yeah.
and everyone's okay with that. Like when I read it, I actually hear you speaking it. I did do an audio book for it and all that business. And
Mhm.
the point of the book is what people like, the ones who actually read it. A lot of people bought it. And I'm like, have you read it yet? And they're like, no. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you bought it at least. But they say when I do read it, it's surprising because it kind of ropes you in with humor. And then
Mhm.
it hits some pretty hard, deep stuff. And then you get into the deep stuff and I hit you again with humor, which was just the way I am and the way my personality. I kind of free form wrote it. I did have editors. I hired a couple of editors to kind of, you know, make it a little more sane sounding so it doesn't sound like a manifesto as opposed to a book. I have the feds kicking my door in and arresting me for, you know. So thank you for reading it. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm always interested to know um the behind the scenes story, so to speak, if you will.
Sure.
The what inspired the so I guess we'll just start by saying where are you in your creative journey? What um inspires you right now, and what inspired you to write this book and share the title, because
Sure.
maybe not
Let's
everybody
the
knows.
book.
You can hold it up.
Yeah. The Asshole's Guide to Everyday Living,
There
available
you
on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. How's that for a commercial? I should be an actor or something.
go. Yeah, right.
So we'll start with the name of the book. I was just thinking about that. Uh, God. I'm just going to say God, universe, spirit, because it was in the height of 2020. In August of 2020, all the craziness is happening, as
Yeah.
we all know. And I'm noticing everyone's writing books. Everyone's got a book on Amazon now. Like people don't write. And I was hanging out with a friend of mine, and far be it from me to be a bit of a cynical asshole. I'm like, well, this guy can't. Well, who's writing? Look, this person's writing a book. That person's writing. What? Everyone's got a book out. Look at this stupid crap. Who's got this person wrote a book? You people, you and I both know, all of a sudden become these authors. And she's listening to me complain, and she says, "Why don't you shut the f up and write your own book?" And Amy, I swear to God, I'm not even exaggerating. Popped in my head like divine intervention. The
Uh-huh.
assholes, and I had it went back and forth between the asshole. It was definitely the asshole's guide to either the universe or to everyday living.
Hmm.
And I figured, well, I don't know jack shit about the universe, so let me I do know about everyday living.
Yeah.
And a couple weeks, and it just popped in my head. I said it to her, and she's like, "Yeah, that's a book you would write." And I'm thinking, I'm going to the universe, like, really? That's the book you want me to write?
Uh,
Oh, you assholes! I'm like, you assholes! You're gonna put me in the front line? Good, thanks. So 2 weeks later, I started, and it just started flowing, and it would come and go. And it took me about a year or so to write it. I didn't push it. I would just let things come to me. And then the same girl I was dating, friends with, she referred me to a friend of hers, Iga Murzek. I hope I said her name right. She did the initial editing, and she was really cool because she's very sweet, kind, woo-woo, empathetic. What do they call those people who can like feel other people's feelings? Empathic. So the opposite of me, and it was a good balance because she would kind of rope it back. I needed that. If I just went full force, I think this book would be like on the banned list. Like again, I would have the CIA and and such at my door. But she was really good. She was the initial person, and then I found Manhattan Book Group and Mindstar Publishing. It's called hybrid publishing. It's a nice way of saying, give us the money first, we'll do all the work, and you keep the profits, which so far are. So it's like a lot of that's happening. These grassroots things,
sure.
what do you want to be? We do it all. Give us the money, and we'll get it up and running for you. we'll do a little bit of marketing and then it's out there. So
Yeah.
I went with it. I just said, what the hell? I invested some money in it. And right now the book sales have waned and I'm trying to get the marketing. But the funny part is Amazon, who sells the book, won't do ads because of the title.
Aha.
I'm like, really? It made sense though. I mean, like, you would have this book in your bookstore, but you don't know if you'd put it in the window. Fair enough. So I got a marketing guy who's helping me. We're trying to work around that. I do have like a censored version of it that I'm going to put up there. And
Sure.
so I'm going to start doing that. So if you're watching this, buy the book. I can promise it'll change your life in a very mediocre manner. See, I
I
make no big promises.
I resemble that remark, right?
You all do, right? Yeah, the hyperbole of things I just don't get into. It's like I'm not going to BS people that way.
Hmm.
What inspires me these days? Actually, I've been very isolated.
Mm.
And in the book, there's 4 tenets I came up with. And again, when I wrote this, it kind of just snowballed into I found myself writing it. You know what I mean? Like things would come out and I'd be like, oh, wow, it's pretty good. I should probably do it.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
almost like something was speaking to me, telling me to do this. And there was 4 aspects. Like, what is it? I don't even know myself. I should read my own book probably. So, well, isolation, questioning, surrender, and there's another one. Isolation. Oh shit. Let me read it. God damn it.
It's toward the back, right?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Having stayed up late reading it during this.
Yeah, you're like, I better do my homework.
Yeah.
There was a 4th one, and now I can't remember it. I always do. And for some reason, and now that's kind of embarrassing, but it's also every time I forget, it's questioning, isolation, surrender, and imagination.
Mm.
And I feel like those are the 4 things that are the essence of us, right? And you can do them in any order. I write that in the book at some point. And that's what I've been doing. I've been isolating a lot because I'm like, what is the need I have to get out there? I'm an actor, as you know,
Mhm.
and it's been slow for a lot of us. And, the whole FOMO thing, you see people getting work and you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
it's all falling apart. How come other people are work? I'm drowning. I said, you know what? That's a sucker's bet because you feel that need to go do something.
Yeah.
And now what are you feeding? You're feeding anxiety.
And
You're
laugh.
feeding fear. You're feeding lack. You're feeding all that crap because of why? What you're seeing in others, what you're seeing in the outer. And I said, okay, I got to do the opposite. I'm happy to sit at home in my apartment by myself. Um, and yeah, I built one of the hobbies I got into was the little miniature slot car sets. I build these beautiful dioramas. I got 3 of them in my apartment now. If any grown ass woman came to my apartment, she'd be like, "Oh, you're a boy. Good." But
That's
I
the
find
charm.
creative things. I write scripts. Like I'm investing in myself in the introverted way,
Mm.
having a faith that that's going to build an infrastructure of my personality, my spirit, my character that the outer will see.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people bring the facade. They didn't really build on the inside, right? They didn't isolate. And in that isolation, they didn't use their imagination. They
Mhm.
don't ask the questions and they don't surrender to that.
Right.
So those 4 basic things, I've had to take my own advice from my book, which is hard because I
Yeah.
don't listen to me. Then why would others? I don't know. But I mean, so that's been a lesson because I think we don't like to sit with ourselves. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
the hardest thing to do is sit with yourself. That's meditation, right? Why people have a hard time meditating. And for me, meditation doesn't necessarily mean sitting there with your legs crossed, which I can't do because my spine would friggin' break,
Yeah.
and be quiet, which I can't do. If you
Mhm.
met me, it's a hard time. It's very difficult for me to shut up. But there's other forms of meditation.
Sure.
And I think the first step of it is to isolate. And because what is isolation? I write it in the book. I had to read it again myself, actually. It's a 0 point.
Yeah.
And I think with all the crap that's going on, and I don't buy into any of the duplicity and this back and forth of, well, are you with this? Are you with that? Do you believe this? The right, the left, oh, but I'm a middle, the up and the down, the sideways. To me, it's a lot of horseshit. It's a lot of exterior distraction keeping us from our 0 point. And the 0 point is that middle point we get to where we can let go of the things that are pulling us and pushing us,
Mhm.
because that's strife, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
I'm being pulled here. I'm being pushed, especially if you're an artist, or even if you're not. Let's just say you're an accountant, whatever, because we all have desires, right? So they lead us, but they can also pull us for faster than we need to be pulled, let's say. And that's what I'm saying. So I've been like thinking about myself and thinking about what I truly want and all that kind of stuff, the inner qualities, if you will, and then have a faith that, like I said, that's going to build the radiance that people will see.
Yeah. Coming to neutral
Yeah.
so
This-
that, yeah, so
Yeah. And
that,
you have to isolate to do that. If you're distracting yourself, like I battle with social media all the time, because if you're sitting around by yourself, you get bored. I feel that sort of what they like that endorphic rush of like, oh, I mean, I turn on Facebook or Instagram. Oh, what's going on? Nothing. Nothing is going on. A bunch of stupid pictures that you're just scrolling around like an idiot. That's what's going on. I have to catch myself like
looking for
this,
inspiration.
yeah,
Yeah.
or just connection.
Connection, right? Connection.
Really, like, and it's a endorphic temporary connection.
Yeah.
And I got to catch myself. And man, the hardest thing to do, like I like TikTok, sorry,
Mhm.
I go on TikTok. I have my little TikTok account, the Assholes Guide to Everyday Living, James Pravasilis. And it's fun, but then it used to be a lot more fun. And what happens, like with all things that are exterior, that are feeding the fun, if you will, and these needs, they're gonna wane. They're
Yeah.
gonna they're gonna get dull.
Right.
Too much of a good thing. So, and inevitably you're gonna be stuck with yourself no matter what. And that's what's been inspiring me. Like, man, now what?
Yeah.
I'm by myself, I'm sitting alone. And it's great because things come to you then things you want to write, or things you want to do will come to you. So you got to just shut the F up and isolate, ask the questions, and use your imagination and surrender to all that.
Yeah.
How's
Because
that for an answer?
wherever, yeah, because wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah. That
You,
mother, that
where,
stupid asshole's behind me everywhere I go. Yeah.
yeah. So if you could wave a realistic magic wand,
Mhm.
where would you like your business, your relationships, your health, where would you like your life? What would you like your life to look like in, say, a year?
Good question.
I mean, and sometimes we have to say, well, a year is too short of a time because if I didn't do it last year, then what makes me think I'm going to do it this year? So maybe if you need to really expand your imagination, go out 3 years and say, okay, in 3 years from now, this is what my life looks like.
Well, the first answer to that question is we're both struggling with, is the timeline.
Hmm.
That's our first bump in the road.
Yeah. So put
Time.
that aside.
Right? That's what I'm saying. So time. And that's where most people have a hard time with this stuff when they want to manifest and think about where I'm going.
Mhm.
Oh, 10 minutes, an hour, a year, 3 years. And then we start, and that's what happens under that timeline is the feeling of deserving.
Mhm.
Do I deserve that in a year? Do I deserve that now? Do I deserve that 100 years from now?
Right.
So what I try to do is I look at my life at the moment, and because the thing about that question, and I ask that question every day, is am I doing that because it's a want or is it a replacement?
Mm.
So am I trying to replace what I have or am I expanding what I have? And when I think the hard part people have with this, and they say, it didn't happen, man. I wrote it down every day for 2 years and it didn't happen because there was a chasm you built. So I look at what I have now. I'm in good health. My back is killing me. Sure, I could complain about it. My shoulders are effed up from doing years of martial arts and crashing motorcycles and just being a rough and tumble moron. Um, I have to expand on what I have now. So what I want to see, I have it all. I have a book out. I've written scripts. I have movies out. I've been acting for a living. Not right at the moment. Um, I'm a good musician and composer. Turn on what you have now. That's what I'm thinking about. Like, because when you say, what do I want from a year from now? It's kind of a disrespect to what you have now. It's kind of telling the universe, well, I don't like what I have now.
So
And yeah,
well, if I may,
sure, please.
you want to say, I am so happy and grateful now that put yourself
Gratitude.
in that moment of you're there a year from now and you're saying, this is what happened to me in the last year,
Yeah,
coming from that energetic place of this or something even better still,
yeah,
holding what you would love with an open hand, that I am happy and grateful for what is and eager for more, because we live in a spiral universe,
mhm,
and even our DNA is a spiral, and the universe and creation is constantly in the process of growing and expanding, and so are we. And if we aren't, then we're dying. Then we're disintegrating and dying. If we're
yeah. So that's the thing. So when you say like a year from now, right? I want to see the expansion of my book selling.
Mm,
I want to see the expansion of what I've created. I want to see the acting career that before all the craziness happened in 2020 that was building, not just continue, better. I was
yeah.
booking things left and right. I was on TV shows. I was on Blacklist. I was on Billions, The Deuce. I Know This Much Is True. Ray Donovan. I did a lot of good TV shows. I want to see that grow again. It's there. I've done it. I want to see that grow again. I want to see the movies the scripts I've written get made. Our mutual friend Pete Dorton, we're working together to produce some things I've done. I have two feature length scripts that are just really ready to go. I
Mm,
want to see that stuff blossom, right? You don't plant a seed, that's the problem. We plant a seed, we come back a year later, we see a tree. But we don't see the germination. We don't see the spawning of that seed in the soil. We don't see it sprouting, right? Because who's got the time and the wherewithal to sit there and stare at dirt for a year?
that's right. That's right.
And that's what the thing with this question. It's a great question because I don't think people are taught how to answer these questions. That's the problem. You know, I've taught music in schools for years on and off, and I've seen what they're teaching kids, and I'm like, you do a lot better if you taught kids things like that.
Hmm.
Like we're teaching seed and result, seed and result. We're not
There's
teaching process. We're
That's
not teaching process.
right. So there's a lot
Process.
you have to keep,
Yeah.
just like the farmer with the seed, you have to keep watering and fertilizing and nurturing and taking care of your seed, or the seed, which is your vision, your goal,
Right.
your dream, whatever that is. You have to protect it and nurture it, or it could wither and die. You
Sure. And sometimes that means leave it alone.
it, yes, give it
You're
the
not
time
going to keep
it
going to
needs.
dig up the dirt and say, is it germinating yet?
Right. Like with a bamboo, for example. I don't know if you know this, but in
I'm an
the
expert on bamboo.
in the first year, it will grow an inch.
Mm,
And the next year, it'll grow an inch. And then the third year, another inch. And you think, what the heck am I doing here? And the fourth year, another inch. But what we don't see is that while above ground, it's only an inch of growth,
right.
underneath, the root system, the foundation that supports that bamboo, is going deeper and deeper and growing underground where we can't see. Things that we're learning are sort of a symbol of that. And then in the fifth year, it will grow 80 feet. It'll
Wow.
just take off. But it couldn't do that if
Without
it
a
didn't have
foundation.
the root system to support it. So we can, a lot of businesses, when they start out, there's very little growth or maybe even some loss, as you're investing in growing those roots, right? And sometimes it takes 5 years before you see a good profit in a business
Right.
that's starting out. So it's remembering that taking the baby steps we can take toward our dreams and using our imagination to flesh it out in as much detail as we can are part of what helps us to grow into becoming the person who can have the career that we want, that has the confidence and the belief in ourselves, that we're not just imposters up there, that we deserve our dream simply because we are, because we wouldn't have that dream if we weren't meant to achieve it. That's
Yeah.
my,
And I like that. I like that analogy with the bamboo. That's really great. I didn't know that about bamboo. I thought I was an expert on bamboo, but apparently I'm not. Because right, I mean, and that's the real test of your desire. Because people say, well, a lot of people don't make it in the entertainment industry. They give up. And I think it was Harrison Ford who said his first year in Hollywood, or one of his first couple of years in Hollywood, come I think March or April, you go to the airport in Hollywood and the airports are flooded with most of the actors going home because they went there for pilot season. They didn't get something. Oh, I didn't make it. It's like literally filling out four numbers of the pick five lotto
Mhm.
and saying, well, I didn't win. Well, you didn't stick it out. You didn't put in another number. So it's a good, and that's what I'm saying. You got to sit with yourself.
Yeah.
Um, what I noticed in the entertainment industry, whether it's acting, music, I've done a lot. Been a professional musician and taught and played. I recorded. As an actor, tons of theater, television, film. A writer. Have a book out. I have two short films out called The Prime and Three Grand Souls, and I have these feature scripts that are ready to go. And you ask yourself the question. Sometimes you get frustrated, right? And you say, "All right, universe, God, why the hell would you give me all this stuff to put out?
Mhm.
I really don't want to be one of those famous when dead guys. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll take it. I'll take it. You know, that sucks. Like
Yeah.
you are a ghost one day looking at a statue in some park that nobody's looking at with bird shit on, and you're like, you know what? Why couldn't I have that when I was alive, right?
Right.
Don't want to be one of those guys. I want to experience my success. But that's the frustration. And that's like sort of the trap because we push that, right? We like, oh, come on, man. And then we start making phone calls we don't need to make.
Mhm.
We start reaching out. We start joining groups and organizations and these grassroots things, and they start pulling money out of us. Oh, the promises, right? That's where a lot of manipulation comes in. And
Mhm.
that's where you get really careful in this business, any business for that matter, but any business, like you brought up business, like it takes 5 years to make a business. And there are entities out there that know this, and they know there's a lot of people who are desperate.
Mhm.
And I think the killer of your inspiration is just desperateness. You get desperate to make it because it's not happening fast enough.
Mhm.
I'm going to pull the noodles out of the hot water, but then you're going to be eating stiff noodles, right? That kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I agree. And man, it's patience. It really is perseverance and patience. It's a race to death, right? Like, oh God, I hope this all happens before I'm too old to enjoy it. I do not want to be sitting there with a colostomy bag in a bed one day, signing autographs. I'd like to be upright and, moving around.
And enjoying, somebody said to me, well, like, for a writer, writing is the job. For actors, um, you have to love auditioning, because that is part of because we are creative entrepreneurs, and our product is ourselves. So as we are growing as individuals, and not just focusing on getting the job, we
Mhm.
are expanding ourselves and our experiences in life, because is our experience is what we bring to the job, to the roles that we can play. And and loving ourselves the way we are as we're growing will help us to be better actors, to attract the roles that we're meant to play, and trusting that the journey of becoming um, who we want to be, and not giving up on the dream. If your dream is to win an Oscar or an Emmy or a Grammy, or a Pulitzer Prize, whatever it is, don't lose focus on that. But don't be so obsessed that you miss what happens on the way.
There's a joke in my book. It says, what does it say? It's not the destination, but the journey.
Yeah.
When I write, what if you have to take a really mean shit? then it's 100% the destination, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to crap their pants as a result.
Yeah.
And I had my first acting coach, my first real acting coach was Glenn O'Malley. He was a writer, producer. He taught acting, and he was Edward Albee's protege,
Okay.
directed the original Three Tall Women.
Wow.
And a great story we had. We met, and he said something to me that was really powerful. But the first thing he said to me when I took the first class with him, this is like 20 years ago, he's like, acting is doing. He
Mm-hmm.
comes from that school. And I like that. It's like, it's doing. And now, 19, 20 years later, I got to look back at that saying and say to myself, it's doing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't like the type of actors who let you know they're an actor and they're acting and they're so extroverted. It's like, shut the F up. Nobody cares. You don't, if you're going to fill up a room, you're going to do it inadvertently. You don't have to push it, right? Those people turn me off. But what it means is doing is you're constantly aware of life. You're constantly aware of story, of circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that I truly believe this weird, esoteric, epigenetic science that we're in a simulation, right? Science is proving that we are not base reality. And a lot of the great esoterics from Madame Blavatsky to what's her name? Was it Diane Cannon? No, what was her name? Cannon. Oh man, I messed up for. But all these people, they're saying it's kind of like we're actors in the play.
Mm-hmm.
It's life. I'm like, wow, that's great because I can relate to that, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So know that you're constantly are that person. If you don't have to turn it on and off all the time, then you can just be it.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at acting. I'm going to be the personality I am. And I'm going to be then the trick to acting, the skill, if you will, the talent is I can shape that and focus that to what you need and the story you wrote.
Mm-hmm.
People, when you see quote unquote bad acting, it's people turning on something they think is an idea of what it's supposed to look like. No, you are the idea.
Mm-hmm.
If you weren't, you would have been asked to come in and read for it. Like, don't become, you couldn't become someone else, right? Like the old saying, like, when you go into acting class, like, you're never going to be a king. There's no idea of a king. My first Shakespeare, I played King John.
Mm-hmm.
This was King John, not some exterior thing that sounded like a king and what earthly name to interrogatories can task the free breath of a sacred king. No, no. I said it, and I was concerned about like, do I sound like I'm from Brooklyn? Was King John from Brooklyn? Screw it. That's King John. It
Yeah.
was obviously good enough to be asked to audition and good enough to be cast. And that's the thing. You got to realize you are constantly there is no on and off switch. There's a dial, there's a channel that you could turn on in
Mm-hmm.
who you are to play a certain role. And then that's when your acting classes and techniques and all that stuff comes into play where you learn like, wow, there's archetypes of people. Well, what am I like as a cop? What am I like as a victim, as an aggressor, as a king, as a soldier, as a sweet man? Like, who am I as those things? And that's you know what? That's a good exercise for non-actors, like people. Who am I in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
You ever stop? You ever get caught up in a moment and all of a sudden you pull out of it like, wow, look at this. This is crazy. Who am I in this moment? Whether it's a good or bad circumstance, it doesn't have to be an acting circumstance.
Yeah.
Uh, who am I choosing
Who
to
am I
be?
choosing to be? Yes. And
Choosing to be in this
and
moment. Because
that noticing and that stopping to notice what you're noticing. When you're seeing results that you don't like in your life, it comes from whatever you've been feeling, which is a result of what you've been thinking. And that's where we get thoughts become things because
Mm,
when we're
yeah.
thinking a thought consistently, it makes us feel a certain way, which affects how we behave and take action, which affects our
Yeah.
results.
And there's 7 hermetic principles. And figured out that they kind of go with the chakras. Now, I'm not a big woo-woo chakra guy, sitting on a mountain, feeling my energy centers. I know they're there, or at least I believe so. But the first hermetic principle is mentalism. All is mind.
Yeah, that's right.
And I thought about that, and it's true. And I write in the book, at some point, I make a joke about like, God comes into the middle of the book at some point and has a cameo. And on the audio book, I had a friend do it, but his voice was great, but it didn't fit with the rest of the book, so we couldn't use it. So they modulated my voice, and it sounds hysterical, like, oh,
I'm sure.
and God's got quite the sense of humor, apparently.
Yes.
Uh, what was the point I was making? We were just talking about
You're talking about
all
the
is mine. All is mine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not going to take your imaginary idea of what things are. It's my imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is imagined.
Yeah.
Your glasses you're wearing, the shirt I'm wearing.
Yeah.
We were imagined. Two people got together, had a few glasses of wine, 9 months later, boom, here we are.
Yeah.
Everything has to be thought. If anyone watching this, do that. Look around your room.
Yeah.
Chair, the wall, the building.
Everything's created twice, first in
Couch.
thought and
Yeah.
then form.
Somebody had to think about the couch or the chair you're sitting on. I said, there needs to be a chair here. There needs to be a chair made. Boom, there's a chair. So all is mine. And that blew me away. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And then there's other hermetic principles, I won't get into it now, but I thought that was the heavy one. I thought that was pretty poignant. That's the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And, getting into all this stuff first. And that's when they say, mind yourself, mind your business. That takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it? Because yeah, you got to watch your thoughts. Yeah. Cause I mean, I grew up in a very, we'll say for lack of a better word, volatile upbringing. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York in the 70s and 80s, a single mom. My dad was in and out. You know, people don't remember that New York City.
Yeah.
We're seeing it now again, but it's not like it was then. It was kind of cool in a way, but it was also very, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if I have any anxieties from growing up in the streets of Brooklyn, even just going out to play stickball could be like, a really dangerous thing.
Yeah.
So I have to look at my blueprint and say, man, and I say to myself or to the big guys, like, why is it things being held up? What's mucking up the works here? Give me the answer. Why am I not achieving things fast enough or soon enough or clear enough? Give me some clarity on this. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it comes back to blueprint,
Yep.
blueprint. And wow, like, what is it about that that's kind of, you know, creating things that make me think maybe I'm not deserving or that it's not good. Money's got to be one of the biggest ones, right? I'm sure in your practice, I would say to two things people think that they have a hard time or they have a negative connotation around: money and love.
Yeah.
That's probably gonna be the two biggest things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we were talking about all is mind. Yeah. So it all ties in. It all
Yeah.
ties in. And that's a lot of what my book is about in a very humorous way. I don't know if you read the chapter 3 where I talk about how God put the asshole in the wrong place.
Yes, I did. Yeah. That was very creative, Jimmy.
I think it holds a good point.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, we won't get into it because this is a family show,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I implore you to buy the book and you just go straight to chapter 3. And people like, I've actually said it to people like, that's a really good point. Yeah. Why would you put the butthole there? Can't see it, barely reach it. It's hard to clean. Yeah. What the hell, man? Come on. Yeah. Look,
But I wanted to say something to the polarity part. When you're a kid and you're on a seesaw,
yeah.
as a kid, you're going up and down, and that the up and down is the fun part. And sometimes you like try to balance, like go a little forward, a little back to get that balance point. But if you stay there in that balance point for too long, it's boring. You
It's
want
boring.
the up and the down.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a
And
great
that's
point.
why I like to use harmony instead of balance, because
Good. I like that.
in life, like in a jazz band, sometimes the drums have a solo, sometimes the sax, sometimes the trombone. Each instrument has its moment to shine. And I feel like that's true in our lives as well. Sometimes it's our career, sometimes it's our love life, sometimes it's our health, sometimes it's just getting out and having some time, or some freedom with your money, or whatever it is that each thing in our life, each experience has its moment to to be lived
And like you
fully.
said,
And
that's a
yeah.
great analogy. It's a great because I've been a jazz musician. I played like the Blue
Yeah.
Note and all
Yeah.
Zionis and all these jazz places back in the day, and I played with some jazz greats. And
You want to
it's
appreciate each
right, and the key to that is improvisation. And what is improvisation? It's spontaneous composition. We're
Mm,
constantly composing our lives and keeping composed, right? And I
mm,
like what you just said. That's a good perspective to have, that not everything has to shine, because I think that's the problem with most actors. And that's why they live the whole look at me, jazz hands life. They have to constantly be on. What a
mm.
horrible thing for bad advice. I've heard actors say that, like, I don't know if they were joking, like, the minute you leave the house, you're on. I'm like, no, you're not. No, that's how you burn out.
Right.
You don't leave the gas on when you leave the house, do you? I hope not. But I like that idea of balance. Sometimes, and sometimes that the thing that shines is the nothingness.
Hmm.
What if nothing shined?
Yeah, you just be
How's
you.
that for a balance, in that sometimes nothing's going to happen. Sometimes I'm going to get no work. It's not about me. I'm going to get no attention. I'm going to get no shine. I'm going to get no reviews. I'm going to get no anything. What does that look like when that shines?
That's
What
time
is,
for self-care.
yeah.
That gives you the time for self-care because
Or
we all
just appreciation. Yeah, like, wow, let me take a look back at what just like when you run a marathon, you don't go run another one right after, right? You
right.
no, you don't run home after a marathon. You usually take a car or a bus or something, I
You
hope.
recover. You
Yeah,
recover. You take the time
recover. Like,
to
a lot
recover.
of good things happen. Let me just take it in. Like,
Yeah.
and that helps me think. You just helped me a little bit, because like I said, I had a hard time. One of the reasons I wrote the book and wrote a bunch of scripts is like, man, nothing's happening as an actor right now through 2020. And then the freaking strike. And I was like, oh man, I'm like, I'm on the ropes here, getting my ass kicked. And I said, well, there's other things to work on. Even something silly like building a beautiful slot car race set diorama, or just walking around my neighborhood. I live in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. It's a horrible place. Don't move here. It's an awful place. Don't move. There's airborne needs and snakes. There's radiation. Do not live here. But there really is a beautiful neighborhood. I live, it's a few blocks down. It's right by the water. I
Mhm.
learned just to appreciate that, taking a nice nighttime stroll in Shore Road. And man, it's beautiful here. Wow. Okay. Look at that. I never really realized where I lived. So
Mhm.
how does nothing shine in your life when nothing is, what else is, because then you're going to do what? Like you said, you're going to find things that need to shine.
And you're going to notice your surroundings. You're going to notice your own body and what
Environment.
the tension. You're
Yeah.
going to notice things.
That's good. Yeah. The tension. That's a good point. Yeah. That's a great point, actually, you made. When nothing's going on, it's probably a good reason, because it's probably the universe's way of saying there's things you need to tend to.
Yes.
What you call something needs to be put aside, and what you're calling nothing is actually something. Wow,
Mhm.
that's smart.
And a lot of times when yeah, and a lot of times when we get sick, it's because we haven't been taking notice of the subtle hints
Mm,
that we're getting that we need to rest or pay attention to a certain something in our lives, something that needs healing. We if we don't pay attention to the little nudges, the universe will bang us over the head
yeah.
with something like, you know,
Cancer.
a cancer or some kind of autoimmune disease
Oh yeah.
or a car accident or or a ski fall or whatever. Then it forces us to stop
Yeah.
and look at stuff.
In no, what I was like 13 years. Well, on my 41st birthday, I had a minor stroke
Oh, wow.
on my birthday.
Wow.
Me and my ex-girlfriend there, we went to a restaurant. She was taking me out to dinner, went to the bar, waiting for our seat. I didn't even take a sip of any drink yet. I looked over at her, my whole left side went numb.
Mm,
Couldn't talk. I was like, and she's staring at me like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? And we had just started dating. We were probably like 2 months into dating. And I came out of it. And I remember I was asking her, am I slurring my speech? Because I'm talking, I was really going there, right? And that freaked me out. And I called a buddy up and he said, well, it's either Bell's palsy, you just had a stroke. I went to the hospital next morning. My blood pressure there was like 170 over 120. And, this speaks to what you just said. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I drink casually. Um, but what is it? What called hereditary? You could say my dad had high blood pressure,
mhm,
but man, I had a really in years now. And this last summer, my blood pressure was spiking again. I wasn't eating great. Uh, as you know, I'm a big motorcyclist. I'm a coach at racetracks, New Jersey Motorsport Park. I teach the MSF course, and that could be stressful. Going 100 something miles an hour in a turn, but that's a fun stress. But Money was really tight. I said, what the hell's going on? Like, then I realized, look at the, I'm still upset that I'm not working as much as I want as an actor. Like all these negative things, right? Money's been tight. The MSF job, I'm not really crazy about. It's a lot of work for little appreciation and money, stressing me out. And I said, damn, these things are good. This blood, I had to actually go to the hospital because I walked out one day, I was dizzy.
Yeah.
And against better judgment, I got in my car and I drove myself to the emergency room. I said, "Yeah, blood pressure's pretty high, dude." And I said, "All right." So they fixed it and they've been taking care of it again. And I'm like, wow, I didn't learn that. I did learn the lesson years earlier, but doesn't mean it sticks.
Yeah.
So I listened to my body the first time after a TIA, transient ischemic arrhythmia or something. And now, so that you speak to a very good point of it. And we all have a physical thing that's talking to us.
Yeah. That's right. It was howling wind. So let me ask you about, um, if you had everything just the way that you would love to have it in your life, if things were going along the way you would love, what would be the best part about having all these things fall into place for you?
It's a good question. Let me think about that. The first thing that came to mind was the sort of, and I have to expand on the security of it.
Mm-hmm.
Me.
Mm-hmm.
That feeling of like,
Yeah.
could rest easy.
Mm.
I do that anyway. I consider myself a man of leisure, right? That's the way I live my life. But, and I say this a lot. I say, God, I want everything I have now, just on a higher amplitude of it.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 1,000 more times what's in my bank account now. So I have 1,000, right? No, I'm just kidding. Um, yeah, to be able to rest the security of it so I can have new things to worry about, right? Like, let me
Yeah.
get to a different plateau because that's the thing I got to realize. Like, there'll always be something
Want
to,
more. Mm.
yeah, to want more of. So the lowest common denominator, like, let's raise the bar
Mm-hmm.
so I can have that security. But that's what it would be. It would be the security because I grew up very unsure, right? I mean, it was me and my mom. We were on welfare, food stamps. It was always a money issue, and that's a struggle for me. It's like, damn, I want that thing in life where you don't have to worry about money. Satisfaction, that the things I aimed towards and I
Mm-hmm.
put myself out for are achieved, are solid, and are solid, right? I can build on that. I can live on that. Now I can go for new things to worry about and wonder about.
Top.
'Cause you don't wonder forward if you're still wondering here. No, I know.
That's right. So, Jimmy, what do you think could be slowing you down, standing in the way, or stopping you from having all of what you would love with the book taking off, the the scripts you've written getting produced, the acting work starting up again and flowing with ease and grace and
I'm just gonna blame other people. It's just a simple, just blame others. No, I'm just kidding. Right? That's the simple. It's this person's fault, it's that person's fault, it's the government, it's the aliens. Right? That's the simple one, right? The conspiracy theory of it. The first word that comes to mind is always fear.
Mhm.
It's always fear,
Yeah.
right? There's the two basic feelings of humans in the universe is fear and love.
Yes.
Uh, and the fear creates the block in me to figure out why. You say, what's stopping the book from being more successful? And man, it's frustrating because the honest answer is I don't know right now. I'm doing all I can. I did all the rules. I put the money in. I put the time in. I'm doing the crazy TikToks.
Mhm.
Maybe it's time. Maybe it's patience. Then that's where you got to answer. Well, if I don't know what it is, if I really can't put a finger on it, maybe I just need to leave it alone. Maybe it's not for me to answer.
Maybe the
Maybe
how
it's
isn't for you to figure out.
like, when they say, I use ordering a pizza as an analogy, in the book, there's a pizza analogy as well, because I'm from Brooklyn. I like pizza. But when you order a pizza, you just put the order in. You call up, I want a large pie, pepperoni, sausage, olives, da da da, and you expect it to show up.
Mhm.
You don't call the pizzeria up. Did you put it in the oven yet? How
Mhm.
hot's the oven?
Mhm.
How'd you put the pepperoni? Okay, what route is the guy going to take to get here? But you would never get your friggin' pizza because you're
Mhm.
holding up the person making the pizza.
Yeah.
So that's the trust issue. So is fear, it is patience and trust. Because when you don't know the answer, that's when anxiety comes in, isn't it?
Mhm.
I don't know how my acting career is going to get back on track to where it was. Oh, well, maybe if I did this, maybe if I did that, and and there's the wolves waiting on the edge. Well, yeah, come pay me money. I'll show you how to get your career back on track. And I don't want to do that. Right? We've spent enough money on our careers. I would tell any actor who's got all their headshots, different amounts of headshots, have done all the work they need to do. You've done a lot. Let's just start being it now. So right now it feels like those three elements: the fear, the patience, and the trust.
Mhm.
That's my work to be done. Because again, if you don't know, you can't make yourself know. You can only wait for the answers, right? Part of
Yeah.
that patience is waiting for the answer and then go, oh, okay, and then having the courage to deal with that answer.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any one thing. I
Yeah.
mean, I wish if right now, if I could say, oh yeah, Amy, it's the fact that I didn't call so and so, and I didn't. That would be easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think, not the root anyway. Those are the fine-tuned reasons why. But to get to the heart of the matter of the fear, and where is the fear? What is the fear of? Is it the fear of failure? Is it the fear of success? Is it the fear of um
Point. You know, I thought about that. Like, what does fear of success mean?
mhm,
People people have these sayings and they use it and then they leave it there. And
mhm,
I would tell anybody, all right, fear of failure. Okay, what is that really a fear of? And what I've always figured out is fear of death.
mhm.
What is the ultimate failure in life? Is that you're going to die. That I will try something and it will lead.
We're all going to die, so that's a given.
Right. So, but and there it is. I'm gonna die before my time. I'm gonna die because of try, like I'm gonna die by my own hand.
Mm, yeah.
Because I tried something and I failed and I died.
Yes.
That means I have no more money, means I'm homeless, means everyone hates me. Death is not just, the heart stopping. So there's that death, right? It's a fear of death. What
So
is the fear of? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
it's and does it come really down to fear of feeling the feelings of whatever happens in our life, is how we feel about things,
Mhm.
right? When we think about quote unquote failing, or when we think about standing there accepting an award, or depositing the check, or whatever it is, that success, and then looking around at what does everyone think about this, of my success or my failure. And it's the fear of the feelings that are coming from that.
And you just inspired me to think about something in that respect. Like, I think it comes down to deservance. Do I really deserve it? And that goes to the childhood, mommy, daddy, Freudian stuff, maybe pre-life stuff, past life business. You know, if you're wondering what people think about you having something, I think that is truly rooted in deservance.
Mhm.
Because really, it's you projecting on other people. Do I deserve it?
Yeah.
Do I
What
deserve to have success?
and what other
We're afraid.
is none of our business. It's what we think of ourselves that
Yeah,
really.
unless they're plotting your death, then I'd like to know. Yeah, unless they're plotting my demise, I would really love to know that. But that's the real thing. The root of that, I think, is fear of failure is a fear of a sort of death, and fear of success is the wondering of deservance. And what meaning is, can I uphold what I deserve? Can I be accountable for what I deserve? I deserve my book to sell 5 million copies. All right. Now, why wouldn't I want that? Right. That's the hard question. Why wouldn't I want my book to sell 5 million copies and I make $1,000? Because, the, if anybody knows anything about publishing,
Yeah.
oh boy. But still, why wouldn't I? And it's a hard question to ask. Why
Mhm.
wouldn't I? Well, maybe 5 million people would see how vulnerable I am. Maybe 5 million people would buy my book, read it, and not like it. Maybe 5 million people would attack me. oh God, I gotta get this book off the shelf. No, I mean, you know what I mean? Like I win an Oscar.
Mhm.
Millions of people watch me win this Oscar for a movie that I was in. Why wouldn't you want an Oscar? Why would you not? Like, that's a question. That's a good question. You actually helped me think about that. I think it's a question you got to ask yourself. If it's a fear of success, the first question you ask is, why wouldn't I want that?
Mhm.
Right? Why would you want that? That's a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because it would mean I was successful. It means I'd make money. It means people like me. All right, better question. Why wouldn't you want it? Well, who
Mhm.
said I didn't want it? Do you have it?
Yeah.
How close are you to getting it?
Yeah.
Something's blocking you. So that's a question I'm going to, thanks, Amy. I'm going to sit there all day thinking about that now. Sit in a fetal mess on my couch crying. Why don't I want that? Why can't I? But that's a good question. Why wouldn't I want this? And I think when you find the answer, there's your block.
Yes. And then
And
you
I
have to
think,
heal that block in order to move forward. You have to
yeah,
heal
and I
it.
think, and I say a lot of these blocks, what is, because there's a lot of sort of basic answers that people will say, but keep digging to the answer. Fear of what? Vulnerability,
Mhm.
exposure, hurt, being ostracized. Because when, especially as artists, right? It's and the point I was making before that to use that, well, I was using that is because we wear our heart on our sleeves as artists. We are okay with being vulnerable.
Mhm.
But then we realize we don't see it all the time, right? We don't see what's coming. We're out there in the cold, naked. Oh, wait a minute, but we know that subconsciously, but we run out into the cold naked and then
Mhm.
go, shit, it's cold. You know, and I think that's the issue. We want to have that experience of going for it and doing it and putting ourselves out there. And again, what is anxiety? The fear of the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't I want 5 million people to buy my book? Probably because 5 million people will know who I am.
Mhm.
And 5 million people will have an opinion of me.
Mhm.
And those 5 million people will make a judgment. And that's the work, I would have to, or anybody in my position, even, why do people blow auditions? Man, that's vulnerable, right? In-person auditions in front of the Last Supper, I call it, like 4 or 5 people behind a desk with no expression whatsoever, and you're putting it all out there. And okay, thank you. Like,
Yeah.
whoo,
Yeah.
we're brave people. We're brave people in that respect. Anybody who can do that has a certain bravery about them.
So, a couple of more questions and then we'll wrap up this time together. Um, the impact of the challenges on other areas of your life, the impact of the fear and the trust issues and the patience to, allow what you want to come to you. How how long have these challenges been going on for you, and how is it affecting other parts of your life?
All my life, you know, it's always there. What amount of barnacles grow on the hull you can,
Mm, yeah.
is the thing, right? The hull has always been in the water. The boat's always been in the water. Barnacles grow right away. How many barnacles attach as you move along? So the issues have always been there.
Hmm.
You know, early childhood development is a very profound thing that I don't think gets acknowledged or handled quick enough. People have to go seek that
Hmm.
help. They have to pay a lot of money and do a lot of work. That stuff is not offered to, adolescents and early, people in their 20s and 30s. They usually have to go find a good therapist if they're lucky enough to find a good therapist, not some hack. Um, and they don't, they go to traditional therapy and psychology. They're not going to someone like you or somebody a little more spiritual based. Says, all right, well, let's look at, this stuff. And how does it affect your life? It's all ripples, isn't it?
Mm,
Pebbles in the water.
yeah.
Trust issues are going to go everywhere from your career to your romantic relationships, your friendships, shit, even just going to the store, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I've definitely said, how much was it? Can we check the receipt? Because well, I don't trust the guy. They didn't make the price. They just that
Yeah.
happened the other day. I was like, let me see that receipt. I don't
Yeah.
trust you.
So what do you think is the worst part about these challenges for you?
Worst part of these.
The worst part of the challenge of dealing with fear and trust issues.
Yeah. Number one, the effects that it might be holding up something really good. That's a frustrating thing. When you got to really come to like, damn, like right now, I could be having this same conversation with you on a Macintosh computer in the middle of the ocean on my yacht.
Yeah.
But I'm in a one-bedroom apartment, a rent stabilized one-bedroom apartment in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, which is great, which is still great, right? Right, because it could be a lot worse. I could be having this in a cardboard box, stealing electricity from the Starbucks next door. I think it's that, and because you got to go with what you feel. When I say that, I feel I'm like, "Fuck, I could just be. Things could be so much better right now if only this, and that's the trap.
Mm,
That's the dangerous spiral of like blame
mm,
something that's not really a fault. A fault. It's not my fault. It's not its fault. It's not universal. It's just a thing, right? The is not is thing, right? And I think that's the toughest part is you get caught up in what it could be
yeah.
if it was this, and then you start resenting the this.
So so why is that the worst part about the challenge of the fear and the mistrust?
Because it's me. It's nobody else.
Can't blame anybody else.
Right. Who am I going to blame?
Yeah.
There's no politician. There's no government. There's
So
no
the worst part
university.
is having to deal with yourself.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. It's more or less that. It's having to know that these issues are there, the things happening, and you hold the key, but you don't know what the key looks like. It's
Yeah.
almost like being a janitor with 600 keys on your ring, and like you got the one lock. You're like, son of a bitch, which key is it? That's what it feels like. And that's that frustration. It could be what I want, but for some reason, I'm the one holding it up, and I'm not sure how. Yeah, I can give it all the labels, fear, vulnerability, blah, blah, blah. But where the hell is the actual key?
Mhm. And if you could turn around all of these challenges and freely flow towards your goals, what would that do for you?
Peace,
Mm.
uh, uh, more prosperity and more prolificness. I would do more. The things that are locked in my head, the other scripts, the other books. I already have a second book that's written. I just got to figure out how I want to put it out in the world. Um, yeah, I could produce more.
Mhm.
I would produce more quickly, but we always have that only if.
Yes.
Well, that'll happen when, or only if I can only get this, if I can only get, when this happens, I'll be
You-
able to do this when this is, the if then statements in logic.
Yeah,
If
the
this, then that.
waiting for circumstances and conditions to give us permission.
Yes.
That's common hour thinking.
Right.
That
And we realize we are our own permission.
and forgetting that we have the power within us to create a life that we would love.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you could tap into that and flow freely toward your goals and have that peace and that prosperity and the ability to create this life, what would be the best part of it?
Let's see. What would be the best part of it? The fulfillment of it,
Mm,
you know, knowing that, you know, it is created and it's created for me, that I am doing the work I came here to do. And I am doing it. It's not that I'm not doing it, I am doing it, but you're doing it on a more consistent, fulfilling, and uh, prolific level that I am fully doing what I'm here to do.
mm,
All the boxes are checked off. I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. I got to catch myself and do it all the time.
mm,
I said, oh man, nothing happened the last 3 years. I'm like, wait, no, man, I wrote a book, I wrote scripts, I've been in a few movies. Despite it all, I've been in a couple of good movies, small parts, but hey, I'm in them. Um, and whatever personal things in, I got 3 slot car race sets sitting in my house that look really nice, even though I look like a 12-year-old, but I'm good with that. Yeah, like the fulfillment and the sort of the consistency of fulfillment,
Why is that the best part of it?
because I think that feeds our purpose.
Mm,
If I believe what I think you believe as well, that we are a soul here to experience and create,
yeah.
then the soul is doing what it's meant to do. And then we're on to the next level of whatever the soul needs to do.
Yeah.
I don't have to do this another freaking 50 lifetimes, you know,
Yeah.
be, something else. And that's it. It's a weird perpetualism we have where we always want to be something else.
Right.
It's right.
Continue growing.
It's perpetual motion forward, right? It's not going backward. That's just memories.
Right. There's a reason they call it the present, right? It's a gift.
Yeah, right.
And we can only live in the now.
True. And that's the hard, like I said, that's the 0 point. That's where
Yeah.
isolation comes.
And that's how, even though, you plan for the future and you make decisions based on what you know from the past, you still have the faculty of imagination that can transport you to where you want to be in the now.
Mm,
You
yeah.
can you can let your imagination take you to where you would love to be and really flesh it out in your imagination like a little kid and
Yeah.
be in that space of you sitting on your yacht talking to me on your laptop in the middle of the ocean. And look how your face lights up when you
I'm
think
just laughing because I want to say, like, I just hope I'm not seasick. I can't not be like, I have that assholean humor about me that I always got to piss on it somehow. And it's not because I don't feel like I deserve it. I just actually find it funny.
find it
People,
fun.
why do you say that? Why do you do that? I'm like, I actually find it funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so weird. I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And that's part of it too. Like what you asked, like, what would it all look like? What would all the payoff be? I think I'd have more fun.
Yeah, there you go.
I think it's as simple as that. Let's put all the woo-woo stuff aside. I would just have a lot more fun, or I
Yeah.
would enjoy my fun
Yeah.
a lot more. I like being, a funny asshole. It's part of my personality. I have no apologies about it. You know, yeah.
So Jimmy, what have you found the most valuable about our time together so far today?
The free therapy. Thank you.
Welcome. It's my pleasure.
Um, well, it's always you've always been a great, lovely person ever since I met you. You always had a nice vibe about you. Very calming, which is always good for people like me. I burn at my RPMs are like I'm a race engine, and I've learned to accept that about myself. So I like when I get in these kind of things. I enjoy speaking about this stuff.
Yeah.
I was a friend of mine, the same girl who like asked me the question that made me come up with the book idea. We had a discussion where it's like, I don't want to talk about anything else. Don't want any part of it. I like talking about this stuff. So I enjoy it. It creates an energy. It creates an inspiration. It creates, you know, um, inspiration. And like, I think I said that hope. It creates like, oh, good. It creates a good vibe for perpetual forwardness. And I like that. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Because everything is energy. And as we raise our vibration, that vibration goes out and it attracts its like to us, right?
Yes.
Positive energy going out attracts more. Yeah.
Because the only way you can fix the outer is on the inner. As I
Agreed.
say in the book, this is my government. This is my church.
Yeah. It's an inside out job for sure.
Sure is. Sure is. Yeah.
So I want folks who are listening to this to be able to find you if they want to learn more about your book and your work and who you are. So where can people go to learn more about Jimmy?
Come to my house, hang out.
Do you have a website?
That, yeah. So there's a few things. Oh God. So there's jamespravasilis.com, JAMES Pravasilis. I'm sure you'll write my name on there, but
Yeah,
PRAV.
you can put it in the chat and I'll put it in the show notes and
Uh, jamespravasilis.com is my overall website as an actor, writer. There's the Assholes Guide to Everyday Living.com, but you can just go to Amazon and or Barnes and Noble. There's been the publisher, because they did the edited version of it. So now there's two pages. One has the book will be the book. The book will look like this. So you're not going to get any edited stuff. But for the sake of trying to sell it on Amazon, I did one where I cross out the SS because apparently the word,
have X's
yeah.
over.
And but some reason in some formats when you press on that, you can't find the physical book.
Ah,
So if you press on, you can't find the physical book, just make sure you hit the self-help tab at the top. I'm
mm,
trying to work all this out. This is the headache I'm dealing with. It's like, you know, I contact them, they get back to me a month later, that kind of thing.
yeah.
So even if you bought the audio or the Kindle version, it's all apprecited. And please leave if you like it, please leave a review. If you don't like it, shh. So asholesguide to everydayliving.com, jamespravasilis.com. My Instagram is my name, James Pravasilis, or the Assholes Guide to Everyday Living on Instagram. My TikTok is the Assholes Guide to Every Day, or James Pravasilis, my name. So basically, if you just Googled my name
You're gonna find
and
a
the
lot.
Assholes Guide, you're gonna find a lot of stuff about. You'll find my reels. But again, my website has a bunch of this stuff.
Good.
So yeah, I'm all over the place.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it. Again, thanks for the free therapy.
Well, as you know, I am a life coach,
It's
and
great.
I wanted to share with you that I have several programs that help people overcome the sorts of challenges that you're having, that we as actors in general have with dealing with fear and trust and deserving and all of that, to achieve the kind of results that you're looking for. So if you want to hear about it, I'd be happy to tell you. If not, there's no pressure, and it's an invitation.
Sure. No, no, no. I'm always interested.
Yeah,
Right,
because as
right.
my coach says to me, when you hear that crying baby that is screaming at you that it's unhappy, that fear, that mistrust of it all not working out, or it working out and then you don't know what to do, you can take that baby down into the basement, shove it in the closet, close the door, go upstairs, turn on the sports channel and watch a football game, crack open a beer, and just shut out the sound of that crying baby that wants attention. And for a while, you won't hear it, and it will go away. But there'll come a time when you'll say, you know what? I have to pay attention to that. And
That's right.
you're gonna go down there in that basement, and you're gonna take that baby out, and you're gonna give it what it needs. Sometimes it needs its diaper changed. Sometimes it needs a burp. Sometimes it needs to be fed. And sometimes it just needs to be loved. It just needs to be held and know that it's okay. You have it safely in your arms, and it's going to be okay. And sometimes that's all you need to do, is just love on the thing and feel what it is. Feel the feeling. Love it. And it will dissolve. So
That's
that's some of what I do.
that sounds wonderful. Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, yeah. Well, something we'll talk about uh after the recording.
Yeah. Well, I certainly will edit that part out. And I
I know it was beautiful. Don't edit it out.
can